good?
Yeah, I believe so. Ready?
Yeah.
What's going on, Maz Gang?
Hey guys.
My name is Brian. This is my husband.
Alec.
And welcome to Meet the Mazelins.
Yes. So, we're back with another sit down. Happy November, everybody.
Yes, happy November.
Yes. So, we wanted to get into the immigration process and the things that they don't tell you about.
Mm-hmm.
So, for many of you, you would have been following our journey. You probably knew that we are now married, but we went through the K-1 visa process.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you can find so many resources online that tell you how to fill out the forms and what steps you're going to be taking. But we found that nobody really talks about the things behind the scenes, the feelings behind all these things, and how you're going to feel going through the different changes of the process.
Yes.
So that is more what we're going to be focusing on today.
Yeah, the emotional side of everything.
Mm-hmm. And you guys can tell us, for those of you who have gone through or are going through a similar journey, what your feelings were like as well in the comments.
Yeah.
So how are we gonna start?
Okay, so I guess we should start with like the pre-marriage, I guess. Like what you do leading up to the 90 days or within that 90 days of getting married.
Okay. So yeah, let's talk about once you've deboarded the plane and you're here in the US, what next?
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course you're gonna have the excitement of finally being in each other's space. So we understand that it's gonna take a little time for you to get things going and actually, start living your life here. One of the things that I would suggest before you even reach is to look into getting an international driver's permit.
Okay.
So being in Jamaica, I was able to request one of those at the tax office. So it's just another card that you get basically, that should allow you some kind of allowance to be able to drive in certain countries. It actually lists it on the card, the countries that it's good for. So you can check that out in your relevant country, and it is normally valid for a year. And that's just to kind of do you over while it is that you wait to get your license here in the United States.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just one of the tips before you reach. Yeah, what about the documents when you're here?
Like the social security number.
Mm-hmm.
So I also have someone who went through this process. You can get the social security number prior to the approval of the adjustment of status, but in my opinion, I don't think it's worth getting before, because they're going to print your social security number with not eligible to work on it. And then once you do get your work permit, you're going to have to bring your work permit to everything that you do to let people know that you are eligible for different things like bank accounts and all different types of stuff. So I would wait until after the fact to get that.
Okay, and see, he just talked about bank accounts a while ago, and that's also a huge tip while it is that you're here or you're just reaching. So not every bank is going to be able to open an account for you, whether jointly or individually, without that social security number. You will find out very quickly that social security number is literally your life while it is that you're here.
Yes.
So in us searching, we found two banks in particular that were able to satisfy the need of somebody who might not have all their documentation yet. The first was Bank of America. But when we went, so everybody's experience might be different, but when we went, we were not able to open it in branch, and it could not have been a joint account. But if you're interested in opening an individual account, you can do so online without a social security number.
Yes.
Our second option was Regions, which is where we actually went, because we wanted to have a joint bank account. Reason being that when it does come time to have the interview for the green card process, that we would be able to show that we have started the process of having joint assets.
Yes.
So we were able to walk into a Regions bank and sign up for a joint account, leave there with our cards and everything.
Yeah.
And it's our first record together.
Yay.
Yeah, so outside of that, other helpful tips in that 90 days before you get married, you may not be able to have the luxury of being on the health insurance of your partner until it is that you're actually married. So you can probably look into health services. It's very helpful to contact the county health department and see what kind of services sorry what kind of services they might be able to offer you. So those are just our tips for pre-marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we're talking about the process to file.
Yeah. So this is the part that like is painstaking.
Yes, it is. I didn't necessarily have to do it. Alec did it all himself. I just was there for moral support.
But to be fair, starting the K-1 process, it was really the applicant is him starting the K-1 process. And then for this second leg, the baton is passed to the fiancé. Well, at this time it would have been newly married wife or husband. So in all fairness, he did have to do that a year and change ago.
Several times.
Yeah, but this was a very long process because it includes many forms, which are 4 main forms that are included. So that's be prepared now, guys, to be confused by a whole lot of numbers.
Yes.
Something is gonna haunt you for the next couple of weeks if you're at this stage. So you have the adjustment of status, which is the most important thing after you get married. So that form is for you to actually be recognized as a US resident. So don't reach citizen stage yet, just as a US resident. And that is what, the
485
485
for the adjustment of status, right? Okay.
So you have the adjustment of status. You have the I-864, which is the affidavit of support. So that's something that
I had to fill out.
Yeah, the US citizen is going to be filling that form out. And then you also have 2 additional documents that are optional. You don't have to do it at the time of adjustment of status, which is the employment authorization form as well as the application for travel document. And they're exactly what it is that they say they are. So it's for you to be able to be working, and then 2, for you to be able to travel, not back and forth freely, but
in the event that, say there's an emergency, you need to go back home, you'll have this travel document that'll allow you entry back into the United States.
So the travel document, that's I-131, and then the employment authorization form is I-765.
Correct.
Yeah. See? Okay. Remember all of that.
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm gonna type it out. But here's another tip. If you file these together, you're gonna save a lot of money. So if you file it all together, it's $1,225. If you file it separately, each form has its own price. Yeah. The employment authorization is $410. The travel doc is $575. The adjustment of status is $1140.
And then, so regardless of whichever process you do, there is a biometrics fee that is attached. The biometrics fee, though, is something that I believe you only pay it once. Regardless of the process that you're going through, it's only once that you're going to be doing that, and that's $85. So if you guys are mathing the math that we're giving out here, if you file concurrently, doing all of them together, there are only 2 costs that you're really bearing, which is the cost to file the adjustment of status, which is the $1140, and the biometrics fee, which is the $85, which would give you the grand total of $1,225. Yeah. So now is the time. You've gotten married. Hopefully you didn't spend too much money getting married, because you're going to be spending money again having to do this process. We're not going to go through filling out the forms, because to be quite frank, we feel as though there are many people who have done a great job at giving that information, because I was extremely dependent on YouTube to be able to fill out these forms accurately. I used Ksenia International. For me, she was the one that was very easy to understand, very clear, and she was able to explain different situations because you have different kind of applicants. It could have been a fiance, it could have been an international student, it could have been somebody coming for a work permit, and she was able to explain some of the differences. So it is something that you can search. We'll try and drop her link below as well, so that for any of you out there who are looking for that same kind of help, you can probably check some of her videos out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So outside of the forms now, we have a whole lot of other things that you're probably going to be experiencing.
Yeah.
So where you want to start?
Well, before we jump into life after marriage, there are a few tips. Please do not submit your forms printed front and back.
Oh, yeah. We learned that the hard way.
Yeah, we actually sent them paperwork that was printed on both sides, and the machine cannot read the opposite side, so it sent it back as an error. So that kind of prolonged our journey a little bit. Fill it out and send it back as soon as possible, because as soon as you get it out is the sooner that you'll be able to get it back and start your life.
Yeah, and so we wanted to be able to actually physically file the forms before the 90 days was done. If it is that you know you're not planning an elaborate wedding, get married as soon as possible and submit your documents, fill them out and submit them as soon as you can. That's what we would tell you to do. It's not a must, but you just want to be completely sure in the situation. You don't want to have anything sidetracking a process that has already been very lengthy for you.
Right. Yeah, and another tip that we just told you, to file it concurrent. That way you save a lot of money.
So those are our 3 tips. Yeah, so can we get into
the juicy stuff now? Yes, let's do it.
So let's see. I mean, do we start with the good things or do we start with the bad things?
We should probably start with the bad.
Start with the bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
To end it on a high note.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess it's only natural for me to be the one that would have had the harder time adjusting to life after marriage, being here in the US. First off, I mean, coming to a new country and being able to settle, I did have the luxury of having some time because I did stop working from last year, September. And even though I have only been here permanently since May, I spent most of my time here, or maybe equal time here and in Jamaica up until May. So I had a little bit of an ease into this. But I can imagine for anybody going through any kind of immigration process, whether it be by way of marriage, by way of family, or by work, adjusting is going to be very hard, especially right off the bat. You're basically being taken from everything that you know and having to find a new normal. For me, at first it wasn't hard. I mean, people would ask me all the time, like, are you homesick yet? Are you homesick yet? And I'm like, no, I've been doing this back and forth for a year and I'm just happy to be here. But self-admittedly, after a while, it does get hard. After a while, you realize that, especially with social media, you realize everyone is living their life and you're seeing things that once upon a time used to give you joy, and you no longer have that in terms of being in the same space. Your joy is registered in a different way now. And it's like you're wondering, do I let those things go? When will I be able to do it again? And I think just knowing that you can't just go back immediately was the hardest thing to digest first. Yeah. So, because I mean, we're not able to travel at this point. We are without a work permit, without a travel permit. So I'm just here. Yeah, many of the days are served here at home. And I try to show up in ways that I feel like would be beneficial, but it also isn't ideal. Brian is the only one currently that is working, and so we're basically a single income household. And I can imagine that in itself has been extremely hard on him.
Yeah. just for the myth. I mean, I knew I was gonna have to be this. It was gonna be this way for a while. I didn't expect it to be this long. Um, and I think that's the part that shocked me because before I used to be able to buy things and not think about it. You know, take trips and not even question what am I spending my money on.
Mm-hmm.
So now things have changed a lot where I need to like be a little bit more cognizant of what I'm spending my money on, and that's been a major adjustment for me. Um, it's not one that I regret. I'm happy to do it because I have the love of my life here, but it is tough. It gets hard because you like
What are some of that like what are some of the adjustments that you've had to make? So what does adjusting your life look like?
so the major adjustment is adjusting to somebody being in your space
Mm-hmm.
and adjusting how and when you do certain things. Um, for example, when we would be long distance, every day Alec would have to tell me to like stop moving because I always cleaned my house every day. I cooked and I cleaned every day. Um, and now I've given up that, and Alec knows I love to cook. So with my work schedule now, I had to change that. You know, because I have a family now, I have my husband and my child here, so I can't work the shift that I used to work. So now I'm coming in later, which doesn't allow me to cook. It doesn't allow me to clean the way that I used to. So those are things that I've found that I let go that I actually enjoyed doing prior
Mm-hmm.
to. You know what I mean? Um, shopping. I used to have an ASOS package at my door almost every day, and
Guys,
that's
that is, I think for both of us, that is one of the toughest things.
yeah, for sure. And it's like it's frustrating because I mean, I put on some weight. You know what I mean? And
Both of us.
I can't I can't even buy new clothes for myself, and that's like tough.
Because at this point, prioritizing is key.
Hmm.
And because we don't know exactly, there's no specific date to say you're going to know everything by X date. So you really do have to have that foresight and fiscal responsibility to be able to say, we need to have money in the event that we
Hmm.
need to spend on something else.
Right.
And just being able to have that security blanket
Hmm.
to be able to see you through to the end of the process
Yes. So it's not having the money. It's just reallocating it. Like you have to make sure
and
it's
knowing how to spend it in the
yeah
best way.
right.
Yeah, so the that part is really tough. I think even our lifestyle has adjusted too because of that same financial concern,
Hmm.
which we don't necessarily go out as much as we used to, even when we were visiting.
Yeah.
Um, we cook what 6 days a week?
6 days a week. That's unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
6 days a week.
whew,
And a huge part of that too is the only reason why we even don't cook every single day is because sometimes BJ gets tired of the food
yeah.
that we cook every day. So
Hmm.
we're like, okay, well, we need at least one day for us to like eat out
Yeah.
per week.
Typically, that's a Friday. That's like pizza day or wing
Mm,
day. Like, yeah,
yes.
Chick-fil-A day for him because
Uh-huh.
he's a kid and he loves Chick-fil-A. So
Some kind of junk.
yeah, but it's definitely been an adjustment for sure, man.
hmm Another thing for me that has been really difficult is basically existing in two worlds. And by that, I mean, even though you've left one country, this might be a me thing, but I'm sure that there are other people out there experiencing the same thing, where you are still trying to maintain some level of life in your home country while you're building your footing in your new home.
Hmm.
So for me, what that looks like is still trying to own and cover all the costs of owning an apartment in Jamaica, but at the same time, knowing that I'm not working here, having savings to use for just everyday life, and then you still have to be maintaining a property. So for me, renovating is an issue. If something stops working, that's an issue. And all those problems are amplified when you're here.
Hmm.
outside of that, my family is still there, my friends are still there, and you're still trying to show up for them the way that you're used to, but it is different when you know that you can't be there physically. If somebody has a problem, the most you can do is talk to them on the phone. You can't go and visit them. You can't,
Yeah.
physically be there. And that does take a toll on you. And I think that it goes both ways. I feel like also knowing that even though I have the support of my family here, um, that when you have a problem, you're restricted to maybe talking to them on the phone, video calling them, and you and your friend can't go out and do something, which is what we would do if either of us ever had a problem or, needed a little bit of that attention.
Yeah.
So I think severing those ties, or let's not say severing because
Yeah.
that sounds
That's not.
permanent,
Yeah.
but um, trying to kind of weave your way around what your new normal is, it does take a toll on you.
And that goes both ways too. Like even being here, I would never leave Alec to go out with my friends by myself. Just for the mere fact that I know he doesn't have that same capability here, and I would hate for the roles to be reversed and I'm stuck in a country with nobody that I know on my own, and you're just going out living your life, you know,
Mm-hmm.
without me. I wouldn't feel right doing that. So it's an adjustment on both ends because now my friends have become his friends, and I'm happy for it.
Mm-hmm.
They treat him, they talk more than I do sometimes, you know what I mean? But I love it. But it is an adjustment because I used to just be able to get up and go to Vic's house or, go hang out with Mike for grab a drink or do whatever it was that I wanted to do. But now I'm married,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to be responsible and I have to be considerate of my husband and my, family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it is an adjustment on both sides. And I think that also speaks to one of the biggest adjustments is just always having to be considerate of another person and how they're feeling. Because a lot of the times you're going to encounter problems.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just be straight.
Mm-hmm.
We have argued a whole lot more since being married
Yes.
than before being married,
Yes.
especially since being in the same space. I think when it was distance, every time you guys would visit each other, it was very much like
A honeymoon.
because you're on borrowed time and you are just happy to be in each other's space. And every time you leave each other, when you come back like together again, it feels like that all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Being here now and living in it, it is different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we've fared badly, but we've definitely, had some disagreements.
Yeah.
And even though I think that we've resolved them each time, it's that you get a feeling of how the other person thinks, and life in general just becomes more serious. Things that we argue about now, it seem like real big people arguments. We're not arguing about, we're arguing about feelings. We're arguing about finances. We're arguing about, things that the other does that might be pet peeves. And that's all because you're so used to only having to defend your space or be concerned about you before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's now different being in the same space.
For sure. Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that you can for sure know that you're gonna experience though coming over, you're gonna have those times of sadness. Um, I've spoken to quite a few people who either are going through the same exact process as me or other processes, like they had just recently come over because of family. And it is something that is going to hit you, and when it does hit, it hits hard. And it might not even just be one time that it happens. So, whatever way it is that you can find to be able to alleviate that, then yeah, we encourage you to go out and do it. So, make sure you're staying in contact with friends, family, and doing things that make you feel more at home while creating your new home.
Yeah. You want to talk about the driving part? So as you guys know, I always pick on Alec for not driving. He has his reasons for not wanting to do it, um, both legally and like I guess cognitively. Like you, it's an adjustment because everything is shifted to the opposite side.
Yeah.
So I get that, but I also understand why he doesn't necessarily want to drive. But I think it would make things easier for him in terms of getting out there, being more social if he were able to just get up and go. You know what I mean?
So as he said, he's always gotten on me for the driving, and you guys in the comments too have gotten on me for the driving. But for me, initially, it would have been the difference in sides because Jamaica, we drive on the left. Here in the US, you drive on the right. I've gotten over that now completely. And I think that I'm very aware of the side that I'm on. I'm comfortable being in the opposite side, the steering wheel being in the opposite side in the car as well. But for me, being here, coming over and not having something like health insurance, um, that for me is a concern. If I were, God forbid, to meet in an accident, what coverage would I have at in a point like that? You know? Um, Two, if I were to meet in an accident and for any reason there is any kind of legal ramification, how am I protected as somebody who is undocumented currently? Because that K-1 visa expires after 90 days. And while you're waiting on that adjustment of status, you're in limbo. So what kind of protection do I have legally over somebody who is a citizen slash resident here? So those are all things that I think about. And I don't want to have to try and fix a problem after it has happened. I feel like you have to take some sort of vigilance to ensure that your journey here is as stress-free as possible, leading up to the time when you can celebrate for being documented.
That's a difference between Alec and I because I'm more of the risk taker. Um, if you meet an accident and you have to go to the hospital, guess what? In the United States, they're going to fix it. Whatever the issue is, they're going to fix the problem. They cannot refuse to help you. They just are going to charge you and bill you.
But that's a huge thing.
It's a huge thing. But for the record, medical bills do not go on your credit report. Just saying. Not saying that you shouldn't pay it, but it's not going to stop you from buying a house. Just saying. But I mean, I understand that part. And I mean, if there's only one car in the family right now, so if that's totaled, we got to start from scratch. Mm-hmm. So I understand that part.
And you think I want that on my shoulders, guys?
Okay. Like I understand, but yeah, it would just be easier. Like for example, he has friends that come and go. Like I didn't expect you to have people to come to Orlando as much as you do.
I didn't expect that, to be quite honest.
I mean? So it's like he has opportunities to meet up with people that he knows and has like relationships with, but he can't go see them because he doesn't feel comfortable driving. So it's like sometimes, like yesterday, I was exhausted, but I knew he hadn't seen his friend in years, so I took him to see him. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna stop you from doing that, but it would be nice for him to be able to get out without me, so he doesn't feel like, damn, I gotta get babe back home, or I know he's tired, or you know what I mean? Like just without having the thought of me being there.
And I know a lot of people might be like, why doesn't he just Uber?
Oh no, that's expensive. That's a bill.
Thank you. It's expensive, guys, especially we constantly have to reiterate it's a single income household. So spending $40 each way on an Uber is not an option.
Yeah.
So
don't make sense.
Yeah, it just doesn't. To rack up $80 just for getting the like transportation alone for one day, it's not worth it. Yeah. So we just have to be mindful of a lot of things all the time. Yeah. I think this is probably the last major thing that was a problem per se, and for me that was my feeling of self-worth. And I think this took me a long time to admit, even to Brian, because for me it felt like the minute that you admitted it, that's when it would become real. I feel like I was teetering from, like, I don't want to say that I'm feeling like I'm not important anymore, or, you know, and I don't mean important in his life, I mean just how I view myself. And that stems from not working anymore, you know, not thriving in the spaces that you were before. So I prided myself on being good at my job, um, being extremely social, being able to provide for my family. Those are things I prided myself on. So I think now not being able to work and my contribution being things in the home, for me, it's like, is it as important as what I would have been able to provide? And constantly trying to tell myself that I am not a hindrance to Brian.
You're not.
And
Oh,
I
okay.
don't feel that way.
Okay. It was a pause. I
It's
didn't know
not
if you. Yeah.
it's not that he makes me feel that way. It's you sitting here because you have a whole lot of time to think. And I think when anybody has a whole lot of time to think, you have those demons that come up in your head that are, they contribute to you self-sabotaging. And for me, that was a huge part of it. And I think it's not until we now got closer to this point of we're waiting and itching and like knowing that the date to get this work permit is soon, that's when it was just like, damn, you know, I can admit now that for these last few months, I've kind of felt a little less worthy and of worth because I couldn't contribute or can't contribute in the same way that I would want to and I dream to. So that was a huge hurdle to get over, still get over. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it. Like I can like there would be days I would come home and he would just be withdrawn, or he's not his normal jovial self. So I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know it was him questioning his self-worth. So it's always important to talk about your feelings. Like, make sure you discuss how you feel with your partner to keep them in the loop, because at some point they might start thinking that it's them, and they might feel like you regret the decision that you made. So just keep everybody in the loop, you know?
So I mean, this guy, this is us moving into, these are tips for things that can help you throughout the process. So as he said, you just have to keep your partner in the loop. For me, if I had probably been upfront with him from earlier, then we wouldn't have had that period of guessing. And even in some of the arguments that we've had, we've identified that that is the issue. It's that I don't want to step on his toes, or I don't want him to feel like he's the cause. And it might be the same vice versa. He doesn't want to do something because he can tell that I'm not myself. But he's wondering, did he cause it? Or, you know, so you just have to be very open about your feelings consistently.
We always say communication is the key, and even with us, sometimes communication falters. You know what I mean? You just have to make sure you shake it back, shift the wig back into place. 'Cause you got to keep communication is important, and you have to be able to effectively communicate. So just keep doing it, and I think it'll work itself out.
I mentioned this from before, but find some kind of way to consistently keep in touch with the people that were important in your life before as well. So if that means that you guys have to jump on a FaceTime or a video call once a week, then you need to do that, because your relationship is going to change. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be as close anymore. It just means that the way that you are going to remain close is going to look different than it was before. I think that being in distance, you kind of get the luxury of understanding what that looks like ahead of time. It's just a matter of both parties still being able to commit to that. But as he can see, like, I'm on FaceTime with Jamara in particular, like once a week, you know? And that's just our way of keeping that connection alive. Yeah, so I would tell you to do that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Another tip is find things that remind you of home. So when it is that you have those downtimes, and he's done a very good job at this. You guys know I love food, and the good thing is that that Brian loves Jamaican food too. So when it is that we have been in that space of whether he's missing Jamaica or I'm missing Jamaica, we've been able to make meals that we missed.
Mm-hmm.
So initially when I came up here with a box of tasty patties. And those patties lasted in the freezer for maybe like 3 months. So 12 patties to last for 3 months, that's a long time, considering that we're sharing it too.
Yeah.
So that would be one of those things that I would run for, when it is that you wanted a little reminder from home. We've bought stuff like from the Jamaican restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
From the Jamaican restaurant that's here. You okay? This is not him trying to plug the cup, guys.
No, I've had this cough for like the last week. Sorry.
So we bought stuff from the Jamaican restaurant. It is not as good as making it at home. Thank God Brian can cook. So that is one of the things that we have done as well. Mm-hmm. For me, when he's not here, I have like mini soca parties in the living room while I'm cleaning. Yeah. So instead of watching TV, I'll just be listening to music. So soca music is like my go-to happy music that keeps me in good spirits. Yeah, and then also I've tried to revisit things that once made me happy, and I might not have been doing it right before I left Jamaica. So for example, when we had started playing tennis, I played tennis growing up and I just hadn't for the last few years before leaving Jamaica. And being able to go and do something like that, revisit something that I once loved, it brought me back into a space that was reminiscent of home. And creating those kinds of habits from your home country here in what is now your new home. Is there any other tip that you'd give them? Any parting words? Last words of advice?
Once again, just communicate and be supportive and understand that, like, don't try not to take things personal. Like, I had to sit back and realize, like, this is a major adjustment for him. He left everything he knew and loved to come be with me. So that's enough right there to give me the patience of Job if he does have a bad day, because I get it. You know what I mean? So just be patient with him and love on him as much as you can.
Yeah. I mean, he said it right there. I don't think I need to add anything. It goes both ways. Each person is going through their own struggle. So just don't invalidate their feelings. Mm-hmm. That's very important. Mm-hmm. Know that the other person is trying their best to make you feel comfortable, and at the same time, just try your best as well to keep them in the loop. So y'all just need to be on the same page.
That's it.
Yeah. So that is the best advice that we could give. We hope that somebody out there has gotten some kind of benefit from watching this video today. Of course, if anybody has any questions, any comments, leave them in the comments and we'll try and see how best we can help you through our experience, because we are not professionals.
Not at all.
And we are still very much going through the process.
Sure are.
Yeah. So hopefully we have some good news for you guys sometime soon, because we are waiting patiently.
Impatiently, I'm sorry.
So let's be real. Let's be real.
Impatiently.
Yeah. But on that note, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Please share the video to anybody that you think might benefit from it. Mm-hmm. If you haven't already, do what?
Subscribe.
All right, guys. Peace.